11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Welcome back to Newsmax TV's post-debate special. I'm J.D. Hayworth. It was interesting to watch the meeting in Milwaukee tonight. There were some candidates who looked confident, some candidates less so, but ultimately the decision is yours to make because, after all, here the people decide. We continue our coverage and return now to Newsmax New York and our friend Steve Malzberg, who, with that encyclopedic intellect, can pull out the most interesting exchanges in the debate and almost recite them from memory. Steve, anything that might initially appear as an asterisk tonight but will loom large tomorrow when people really start to think about how this debate went?
Well, I think the media is going to pick on Donald Trump for saying about Carly Fiorina, why does she always interrupt? They're going to play that, he's war on women card again, which is nonsense. But I think as far as substance goes, I think that, again, as was talked about in the previous segment, and for those just tuning in, you have the two front runners, and basically there's been everybody else. I think Donald Trump and Ben Carson tonight certainly did themselves no harm. I think when it comes to the two of them, they also enhanced themselves. When it came to immigration, I certainly thought Trump put his plan forward, and he took on John Kasich, and he took on Jeb Bush, who basically trashed his immigration plan. Ben Carson was given an opportunity to talk about the media. He didn't cry. He didn't whine. He said, I don't mind scrutiny. He said, but, Hillary Clinton told her daughter and told Egypt and told Libya that it was a terrorist attack, Benghazi, and then she told us that it was a video. And where I come from, he said, that's called a lie. He also said, people who know me believe that I am an honest person. So I think the two front runners did themselves great service tonight. And I think that Rubio speaks with passion. He speaks with authority. And again, I go back to his tax plan, which he said was a family-friendly tax plan. And he pointed out that if you invest in your family, why shouldn't you be able to get tax advantage from that, helping your children the way business owners get to deduct money or deduct taxes on equipment. So I think he and Ted Cruz also. Ted Cruz really helped himself and solidified those who love him, and maybe gained some new support as well on immigration and on the fight against ISIS and terrorism, as did so many others on that stage as well.
Well, it's interesting because, at least in the first quarter hour of our coverage, a consensus seems to have developed that there's almost I won't say a final four, but a first four. You've got Carson, and you've got Trump, and you've got Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio. And Steve just mentioned Rubio. Let's listen to the articulate nature of the junior senator from Florida, quite the television performer, quite the debater. Here's the way he turned a phrase early on tonight.
Here's the best way to raise wages. Make America the best place in the world to start a business or expand an existing business. Tax reform and regulatory reform. Bring our debt under control. Fully utilize our energy resources so we can reinvigorate manufacturing. Repeal and replace Obamacare. And make higher education faster and easier to access, especially vocational training. For the life of me, I don't know why we have stigmatized vocational education. Welders make more money than philosophers. We need more welders and less philosophers.
And now we call on a guy who's both a philosopher and a welder. Understand, as a political analyst and as one who worked in campaigns, I've been with this guy, I've been against him. He's one tough, knowledgeable customer. He's our Newsmax political analyst, Dick Morris, Skyping in from Connecticut. So, Dick, your instant analysis, just as a viewer, who grabbed your attention tonight?
I thought that the winner of the debate, the one who I think will move up the most from it, was Trump. I thought that his answers on immigration, his answers on the wall, his answers on defense, his answer on Putin, I thought those were very strong. And I thought there was the same kind of irreverent truth-telling that earned him the front-runner spot that wasn't present in the third debate. He came back in this debate. I think that Cruz was also fabulous. I think that answer of his about saying that you oppose immigration is offensive. I'm the son of an immigrant. I just support illegal immigration. I thought his defense of his budget plan and the specifics that he's put out about cutting spending, I thought were a marked contrast to anyone else's defense of it. And I thought the fight he got into with Rubio and Paul at the end was especially telling, where Rubio essentially is proposing a $1 trillion refundable tax credit. That's a fancy word for welfare check for everybody who's got a child in America. And I think Cruz and Paul were very effective in dealing with that. I also think Rubio did very well. I think that he clearly solidified his status. He's very articulate, and some of his responses were excellent. The guy who I thought fell really short was Carson. Looking at that debate, I have a hard time believing that he's the front runner or even that he's in the race. There were whole periods of time when he didn't talk. When he did talk, he indicated a relative lack of knowledge of what he was talking about. He's almost like an observer in these debates who sort of comes in and talks.
Well, maybe it's because he's a surgeon and he takes a more clinical view of things and he doesn't get into fights unless he's called upon. You mentioned something earlier, Dick, that I think we really want to take a look at, and that was the whole discussion of illegal immigration, where you not only had Kasich versus Trump, you also had Jeb Bush and Ted Cruz getting in on the conversation, almost like a tag team event in the middle of the debate. Here's a bit of those exchanges.
So, you know, the answer really is, if they've been law-abiding, they pay a penalty, they get to stay, we protect the wall, anybody else comes over, they go back. But for the 11 million people, come on, folks, we all know you can't pick them up and ship them back across the border. It's a silly argument. It's not an adult argument. It makes no sense. All I can say,
we have no choice. We have no choice.
Well, he just mentioned my name.
Governor Bush.
Gerald, it was
just
what happened to my question? You're not going to have my back. I'm going to have my back. Let me say a couple things here. First of all, we have grown.
You should let Jeb speak.
We have grown.
No, it's unfair.
In the state of Ohio.
Governor.
Hold on.
And that's part of what was at work tonight. We'll get to some of that other audio involving Ted Cruz and Jeb Bush as they likewise got into the conversation. But now we want to welcome into our conversation the great political historian and Reagan biographer Craig Shirley, who's certainly been involved in his share of campaigns. And so he joins us via Skype from Virginia as political analyst Dick Morris stays with us. Craig, the rough and tumble of tonight. At one point, I mentioned that immigration debate appeared to be more of a tag team, Cruz and Trump versus Kasich and Bush. I know they said it wasn't a cage match the other night, but there were real points of contention and genuine debate between and among those candidates tonight.
Oh, I think there's no doubt about it, is that they've got two opposing viewpoints. There's no real compromise of it. I think what was really telling and which really kind of brought up the opponent short was when Donald Trump invoked Dwight Eisenhower's actions some years ago of taking 1.5 million Mexicans, illegals who were across the border and putting them back into Mexico. That bit of a historical fact, I think, flummoxed, quite frankly, Bush and Kasich, so that they didn't ever really have a rejoinder or response to that. I thought it was quite effective for Trump to make that case.
To that point, Dick, you mentioned also about Trump. He still has a way to sneak in a parenthetical comment, and during the exchange we just saw, he was saying, hey, let Jeb answer the question, John Kasich. So he still has an aura of command, but to Craig's point about invoking Dwight Eisenhower, not a doctrinaire conservative, but much beloved and the father of, quote, modern republicanism. Does that take the establishment and rock them back when Trump cites the history of Ike?
Yeah, sure it does. And you don't have to go back that far. As recently as 2 years ago, Barack Obama was deporting 420,000 people a year. Now, if you want to make a progress on 11 million people, and you want to deport 2 to 3 million a year while keeping the others out with the wall, so you're going to raise the amount to 600,000 a month. We were deporting 400,000 a year. We obviously can deport 200,000 a month. It's not such an impossible task. And I thought that the other thing was that Cruz, in that sound money answer about returning to the gold standard and not bailing out banks, that was incredibly impressive stuff, and really an important new intellectual statement about the agenda of the Republican Party.
Fair enough. Gentlemen, I want you to stand by right there. Let's go to the lady who's monitoring things in our Newsmax newsroom, Miranda Kahn. Miranda?
Thanks, JD. Well, you just heard Dick Morris say that he thought Donald Trump won the debate, but we want to know, what do you think? There's still time to cast your vote during our Newsmax.com poll. All you have to do is head on over to NewsmaxPolls.com and let your voice be heard. And just a reminder, we still want to get your thoughts on social media, so head on over to NewsmaxTV.com/comments or Facebook.com/NewsmaxTV, or also at NewsmaxTV #GOP Debate. We'll be right back. You're watching Newsmax TV.